This is Inside the Locker Room, where football isn't just a game, it's a war zone. Every take, unfiltered. Every prediction, ruthless. From Sunday battles to primetime legends, we break down the matchups, the mind games, and the moments that define champions. Fantasy, film, trash talk, all inside the locker room. So if you came for smoke, you're in the fire now.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Inside the Locker Room, back with another episode here. And guys, we're in the middle of August, and we're so happy to be back. Me, your host, Ben, is here. And also, Michael, of course, part of the show today. Michael, thank you for joining us, of course. Deuce is also here, but he's also backstage. So we thank Deuce for his help as well. But Michael, how are we doing today, man?
Man, we're doing good. First of all, to God be the glory. You know, everything is going really well. I'm so glad to be back on this show where all the sports is cooking and inside the locker room. So I'm glad to be back on here. I feel like it's been a minute though, you know what I mean? But life get the life in. But I'm really glad to be back. But especially glad to see you back, my guy Ben, bro, B Rob. As we call him inside the locker room, we call him B Rob. But that's my guy Ben right there, Adam and Deuce. Man, I'm just glad that we were back to get this thing back up and jumping. Hopefully we can continue more of this.
And thank goodness we're back because, folks, NFL season is creeping up on us, and we actually had our first set of preseason games yesterday, which we'll touch base on in a second. But we wanted to come on here and talk about our thoughts heading into the season, what we're expecting out of certain groups. And Michael, I know you want to talk about the Saints in a second, but I'm going to start off about this. I guess I'll talk about this sort of the AFC side of things because I know the Saints represent the NFC. Now Myles Garrett leaving the conference is a huge thing. I think the NFC side of things is going to be super duper hectic this year with Myles Garrett and the Rams obviously leading the charge. And I just think for the AFC teams, teams like the Broncos are going to be up top. But I think certain divisions are going to be interesting to look at, kind of like the AFC North. Who's going to take atop that division with almost all of their head coaches being brand new, except for the Bengals head coach. But I also want to touch base on another division that may not be as good, may want to be one of the worst divisions in football this upcoming year, the AFC East. I mean, man, what can the Jets do differently this year is a question we all seem to sort of ask ourselves, but kind of the result is sort of the same thing. But optimism is sort of shifting upwards this year as they drafted David Bailey with the number 2 overall pick, Omar Cooper Jr., Kenyon Sadiq. So what will they do with all those pieces? We will see. But I think for the New York Jets, I will say this again, their coaching staff needs to prove that they can actually coach. And that's going to be basically their goal this year, obviously. And it sounds simple enough, but to me, they still haven't proven that yet. With last year, we saw how bad the quarterback play was at the end of the year after they removed Justin Fields from the starting quarterback position. So can this coaching staff coach? And we'll see if the actual talent on this roster pans out. And we know from previous seasons and just seasons galore that is usually not the case. But will Geno convince people otherwise? I mean, the last time people wrote off Geno back to that form, will we get that version of Geno? I'm not sure. But Michael, what do you think is going to happen in the NFC side of things this year? And what are you expecting out of your New Orleans Saints?
Honestly, Ben, when it comes down to the NFC, there are a lot of eyeballs that you really must pay attention to. And one is the Rams, like you just said, with Myles Garrett. First of all, I'm always happy for any player that finds a new system to where a system fits them. And I think Myles Garrett going to the Rams is a new change of direction for him. It's a new, not only for him, but it's a new change for the defensive line. And it's also a new change for the defensive coordinator to boost up that defensive line. So that's always a good thing. When
And
you
not
can
only that, Trent McDuffie as well went to the Rams.
exactly.
So
So
yeah,
it's always
another
good when
acquisition.
you upgrade your defense, especially the front tier of the defense, and that's the defensive line. As far as anyone else in the NFC, I will say that I would not be surprised if Seattle makes another run in the Super Bowl. Now, I say all the time, you can't always be spoiled on success, but Seattle is really in a good spot right now. Um, and honestly, I can only tell you that, but only the data that they have. Hopefully, they haven't lost any data that they had in that Super Bowl run, because how many times have we seen win the Super Bowl and then they don't end up making it that next following year? So
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
very hard to repeat that sort of success
right.
on either side, whether you lose the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl. We've seen it happen to both sides of those teams.
Right. It's the same way with the Patriots. I mean, I know a lot of people are, excited about this year. I'm excited too, but you have to understand that, you can't always dwell on what happened last year. You want to carry that winning momentum that you had last year, for sure. But you can't get too spoiled. You can't say, oh, this is going to be our year again. This is going to be our year again, because, every single NFL team has a 50% chance of winning the Super Bowl again, regardless of the schedule, regardless of, the roster. It's just really about, do you still have that same data? Do you still have that same offensive system, that defensive system that got you there? So that's the main thing that you have to think about as far as NFC. But there are some other teams that I would like to say, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to get into that. But those are two teams that I have kind of had my eyeball on, that's kind of been on my mind recently. And of course, there are some other teams, but like I said, for the sake of time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to really jump into that. Now, as far as the Saints wise, Ben, I kind of had to put notes in this, so I wouldn't really jump off topic or get carried away with what I have to say. Now, as far as New Orleans Saints entering the 2026 preseason with a distinct blend of momentum and structural pressure, Ben, with us coming off a 6-11 campaign, which a lot of people did not expect us to finish in 2025, that can conclude on a highly optimistic note. Winning 4 of our final 5 games under head coach Kellen Moore, it's a good step in the right direction. But the preseason expectations have shifted from a total roster teardown to evaluating if this young nucleus can legitimately challenge for a wide open NFC South, right? Now, here's the primary takeaways of this preseason that I would like to conclude. Number one, commitment to Tyler Shaw era. The top storyline of this camp, being that we're really the top storyline of this camp so far this summer, is the absolute stabilization of the quarterback room. We're not entertaining a generic preseason quarterback controversy. They are completely committed. We are completely committed to sophomore Tyler Shaw as our franchise quarterback one. Now, with that being said, the sophomore year can go one or two ways. It can go good or it can go bad for Tyler Shaw. I'm not jumping on Tyler Shaw train just yet. I know a lot of people are not expecting that, but as real as I can possibly be as a Saints fan, I'm confident in Tyler Shaw, but I'm not jumping yet. Because the sophomore, because his freshman year, I'm not gonna lie, did go well towards the end. But you kind of have to see where things line up for him. And the only way we're going to be able to see that is in the regular season. At least the first maybe 4 games. I normally give a lot of new quarterbacks the first 4 games. So honestly, it's just a matter of, is this the same Tyler Shaw that we saw in the last 5 games? That's the question. But the reality is, after taking over the job late in 2025, Ben, Shaw flashed immense upside, going 5-4 over the final 9 games, completing 67.6% of his passes and adding a dangerous rushing element to the offense. Now, the preseason expectations, because Shaw is unanimously a starter, Cullen Moore is resting him and the primary first team unit for the preseason opener against Jacksonville, which is tomorrow. Make sure y'all tune in for that if you can. Therefore, Shaw's true preseason benchmark is what he does in controlled joint practices. Reports indicate his downfield chemistry is accumulating, highlighted in deep camp connections to Chris Olave and rookie Bryce Lance, who has also flashed in camp so far. Number two, year two community in Cullen Moore's offense. Ben, the reality is, last season Moore successfully integrated a 5 rookies into starting roles, right? Finishing the year with a highly adaptive scheme that highlighted Shaw's athleticism. Preseason expectations. The focus of camp has dramatically shifted toward micro execution, specifically fixing pre-snap penalties, messy huddle tempos, and bad offensive line snaps. The staff is utilizing the preseason games to see if the second and third string units can run Moore's motion heavy playbook with same conceptual fluidity as the starters. Number 3, last thing I want to give you. Sorting the backup battles. Rattler versus Wilson. Here's the reality. Former second-round pick Spencer Rattler and veteran addition Zach Wilson are locked in a French battle for the primary backup spot. Preseason expectations is a preseason game 1 represents the longest live action evaluation these two will get. Fans and analysts are tracking who commands the pocket better under duress. Camp highlights already show backups flashing big play capabilities. Rattler hitting, I don't know if you saw that clip, Ben, but it was Rattler hitting Trey Palmer deep, and Wilson finding Bud Means in the end zone. The player who minimizes turnovers in live situations will lock the backup job. Now, for the sake of time, I had 2 more that I want to give you, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to jump into that. But the bottom line is the Saints are flying under national radar, but the international preseason trajectory is built for a major leap. If Tyler Shaw smoothly commands year 2 of Cullen Moore's offense and the young vertical weapons solidified behind Olave, the Saints are a legitimate threat to secure a 9 to 10, maybe an 11 win season comfortably to steal the NFC South. Now, Ben, to add all this up, this game here is going to determine, 1, do we have the data to continue what we did last year? That's another thing. We lost some pieces, but do we have the right data? Even though we lost some of the good data we had, did we do well in the free agency to pick back up on that data? You bring Cameron Jordan back. That's a good thing. But at the same time, with Cameron Jordan, he's hurt now. So it's just a matter of how can we stay healthy? Can we, can the depth that we have, do we have the right depth in data? And I know I say data a lot because, ladies and gentlemen, whether you know it or not, you can't expect to win a championship if you don't have the right data. And in my opinion, this preseason is going to determine to me, do we have the right data? Do we have the right pieces? Even though we might have to let go of some people, but is there some players at every single position that we can trust to get us through the NFL regular season and possibly a playoff run? That's the thing here. We did well towards the last end of the season, more than people expect us to do. But now there are a lot of question marks around every single position. And I know some Saints fans are saying not every position. Yes, every position. That's what the preseason is about. Preseason is about evaluation. I know the preseason might not be serious to some of you, but it's serious to me because it lets me know that we have the right data to compete with every single team and possibly win more games and lose less games than people had already predicted us to lose, Ben. Because there are some people who are saying we'll be 11-6. There are some people who are saying we're going to be 9-8, 8-9. But the only way that's going to be possible is if we stay healthy, we have the right data, and Tyler Shaw does well in his second year. That's the question here. Can we stay healthy? Bryce Lance already hurt. Again, do we have the right data to stay healthy? Do we have the right data to win more and lose less? That's the question of this preseason.
Yeah, the Saints are definitely riding off of a sort of success train of last year. They definitely are riding off of momentum. So we'll definitely see what Kellen Moore and New Orleans Saints have cooking up this year. I also think it's going to be interesting to see how Chris Olave plays under, an extension. He just got the bag. So shout out to Chris Olave and his camp for obviously getting a well-deserved payday. And there's Jordan Tyson and so many other pieces in that offense that I'm sure will flourish more as Kellen Moore gets more and more experience. So that was sort of our expectations for the NFC side of things. We didn't really go too in depth, but you got to mention the NFC East as well, and sort of the East this year. Obviously, we had a back-to-back champions for the first time in a whole long time for that division last year. But what will it be this season? A bunch of different storylines of other teams as well. It's just like, can they beat the narrative that they just always kind of repeat over and over again for teams like, say, the Bengals? If you looked at their first preseason game, Joe Burrow getting sacked on the very first play, like the very first drive. Like, it's just like, man, it's like you hope these teams learn from their mistakes,
Yeah,
some of these teams. So certainly
yeah.
an exciting season coming up. But I also want to mention real quickly yesterday, Fernando Mendoza, the number 1 overall draft pick of this past year's draft, of course, made his NFL debut. Ended, a drive and a touchdown, looked pretty decent out there. But I think still Kirk is the man to lead the helm in week 1. Give Kirk a couple weeks, and we talked about this on previous episodes, so you guys can check that out about why we think Kirk Cousins should be the starter. But yeah, he made his debut, and we also saw Jeremiah Love on the other side of things getting loose. And we also have to remember, folks, this is still preseason, and it's
Right.
still week 1 of preseason. So this is basically just practice to them, just
But
with pads on.
yeah, it's always good, to start off strong in the preseason, but you also want to finish strong. And Jeremiah Love and Mendoza, they showed that they were comfortable pregame, and they showed that they were comfortable during the game. So that's always good. As a rookie, you want to be comfortable in your first preseason game because all eyeballs are on you. And Jeremiah Love, hey, I like that leap that he did. He's showing his versatility already. He's not hiding it. It's just a matter of continuing this, but also staying healthy at the same time. You never want to overdo yourself and get hurt. So I'm hoping that those two guys can stay healthy, and many other rookies. There are many other rookies that have flashed in this preseason. So it's just a matter of getting comfortable under the system of your defensive coordinator or your offensive coordinator or just your head coach in general, whatever. It's just a matter of getting comfortable and taking each snap one play at a time. That's just the reality of football.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And now the final topic we will go over today, after all the preseason games are going to be over with today, and we'll have 3 more weeks of this before, of course, week 1 of the NFL starting. We had a couple NFL Hall of Fame inductees officially get the gold jacket. We had Luke Kuechly, Larry Fitzgerald, Roger Craig, and of course Drew Brees. Michael, anything you want to say about the Hall of Fame inductees and what you saw that night? Obviously,
Honestly, I'm gonna
if you want to sum that up quickly.
I'm gonna go ahead and just get into the other class of 2026 inductees before I get into the Drew situation. Mr. Adam Vinatieri, outkicks coverage. The NFL's all-time leading scorer and clutch kicker brought massive laughs to the crowd during his thank you notes. The funny part to me was he looked at his wife and joked that he definitely outkicked his coverage in life.
Yeah, Vinatieri was definitely one of those kickers.
Vinatieri, yeah. Larry Fitzgerald's family focus. The legendary Arizona Cardinal receiver presented by his son Devin. His powerful speech focused heavily on family legacy, giving a beautiful tribute to his late mother. Luke Kuechly, man, a guy that I feared so much in the NFC South. Man, even before we even played him, I'm like, man, is Luke Kuechly going to get the upper hand? Is Luke Kuechly going to do this? It's always scary when you play your division rival, and especially an icon of a defense. But Luke Kuechly's humble blueprint, the dominant Carolina Panthers linebacker, entered the Hall in his second year of eligibility. His speech focused entirely on humility and the grueling hours of film study, and his praising his teammates rather than his own accolades. Um, Another guy that I want to mention is Roger Craig breaks convention. The three-time Super Bowl champion with San Francisco 49ers finally got his gold jacket by the seniors category. Instead of him speaking live at the podium, he elected to deliver his deeply emotional acceptance remarks by a pre-recorded stadium video on the big screens. Um, Now, with that being said, how long we got? About 5 minutes. I'm gonna jump through this as quickly as possible. Being Drew Brees is not just Drew Brees anymore. I thought about this for weeks. He's not just Drew Brees anymore. I've come to the solution of this name, the caretaker of New Orleans. That's what I'm calling Drew for the rest of my life, and I'm pretty sure Saints fan can agree with me on this. The caretaker of New Orleans. Whether you like Drew Brees or not, that's your problem. The Soul of the City tribute. I would get into that, Ben, but I'm not going to get into that for a second time. Drew Brees delivered an emotional 27 speech where he reflected heavily on arriving in New Orleans post Katrina situation. He brought the house down, saying, "You accepted me, you embraced me, you believed in me, you trusted me with the soul of the city. I would have died to protect that cause." He went on, life-changing 17th birthday. It was good to see. Also, another icon to me that changed the culture of New Orleans, and that's head coach Sean Payton, who I still have high praise for. Even with him being the Broncos, I still respect that guy, because I still respect that man because of what he and Drew built in New Orleans. Um, Drew went on to say, "You made my job easy, and all of us are better for having been a part of this with you." That's what Sean Payton said to Drew. And honestly, Ben, I will say this: I am so proud of Drew. I was brought to tears when the speaker was introducing him into the Hall of Fame and him giving his speech. And plus, all the Saints fans there saying who that. I was saying that, even me me personally. Drew has just Drew was my hometown hero, my home state hero, ever since I was a kid. When I first learned about Drew when I was 7, by my dad. That was back when he first came to North back in 2006, and I learned a lot about Drew just in that time, and I grew up to learn more about him. And so much to the point that every time we had an elementary topic or a high school topic, Drew was always in that conversation. And the one thing that I did on an assignment, Ben, is that I said that one day I'm hoping that I'll be able to see Drew Brees be inducted into the Hall of Fame, whether it's when I get older or whatever that time will be. I would like to see Drew in that. And sure enough, my dream came true. He was inducted to the Hall of Fame. Um, and that post that I made, I know it's AI, but I had to make that because what people don't understand is that when you have a hero on your team, he's not just a hero to you, but he's like, you can name Drew many things personally to yourself. To me, Drew was like he was like a father icon to me. And, he was the Superman to me of New Orleans, just uplifting everything and bringing us a Super Bowl. Actually, let me say this: putting us in the Super Bowl category. Um, I will always respect Drew. I'm so proud of the success that he's made. Whether people like it or not, he deserves to be in this. Um, he's one of the best accurate passers, quarterback field knowledge that you will ever see. And if I were a player or if I was a quarterback, Drew Brees would be the guy that I would go to be coached by. Um, he's the best quarterback to wear black and gold, in my opinion. One of the best. He's one of the best NFL quarterbacks of all time, and I'm just so it's good. It's good to be a Saints fan. I will say that. Um,
Yeah.
Glad to be a Saints fan. I'm glad to support him and everything that he's done. So that's really all I can say, Ben. I mean, I'm trying my best not to tear up now because when your dream comes true, you can't do nothing but just smile. And I'm just touched. I'm humbled, and I'm blessed to see my quarterback on, in the Hall of Fame. And hopefully one day I'll be able to take a chance to travel to Canton, Ohio, and just see his plaque just sitting on that wall because this is a dream come true, and I'm just so blessed and so glad and proud of the great Drew Brees. And if you're watching this, Drew, I love you, man. Thank you so much for what you've done for the state of Louisiana and for the city of New Orleans. Um, Words cannot express how good I feel to be a Saints fan and supporting you ever since 2006. So, um, because by the grace of God, if it weren't for God, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't even be wearing black and gold. So, I just thank you for choosing New Orleans and wish you the best of luck throughout your lifestyle. And who that?
Yeah, I was gonna say too. Even we had Drew on Inside the Locker Room before, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely check that video out as well. But certainly a special group of players headed to Canton, Ohio, and have already be, have already been headed to Canton, Ohio. But guys, thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode, this August episode of Inside the Locker Room. And when we will be back, the NFL season will be kicked off officially. Week 1, the games will actually matter. Teams will start to get wins and losses, and we'll be debating and dissecting everything from the games, from the players, the coaches. Find everything here inside the locker room. Of course, stay tuned to Deuce and Michael's section on HBCU Network. Keep in tune for that as well. And guys, thank you for joining us. Michael, thank you for joining me.
Yes, sir.
Deuce, shout out to Deuce backstage. And guys, catch you guys on the next episode.